We ordered extras if somebody loses.
Oh,
We
okay.
have them.
Okay, yeah. I still got my old. So. But, anyhow. Man. I forgot my yeah. You didn't give her a big print, did you, Diane?
Did I give her big print?
Don't give her a big print.
Okay, this is big print. I got the little print. This is big print.
She did very good.
Don't give Jordan big print, though, just give her a little print, save the big for me.
If we need it, I have a copy of the Excel sheet pulled up as well, so, we can switch over and zoom in if need be, but, I'm hoping we don't need it.
We have to use that big blotter machine to make it big.
Oh, goodness.
This actually looks like a real meeting.
What did he?
Looks like.
I know why he brought in, he wears shorts all the time,
What's called?
cause he's talking to.
Is that what it is?
It's too damn hot.
Well, it's hot air, Tom.
You mean coming this
Well,
way,
I would-
definitely not going that way.
Well, but you've already built your pile. You noticed I pulled my britches up before I come back. Kevin, I just rest, you know.
I love it. No,
I gotta get, and my phone's not.
how's it going?
It's off, I think, with your teeth. I hope.
How's it going? Just taking up a lot of room over here, so.
David? Yeah. This is.
Just missed the email. Sometimes it comes in right on time. Yes, yes, you get a copy. It's good reading material. Very good. Can help you make decisions, you know, what deciding.
I got a couple of questions. I think this, you know, I feel like, go to 4-4.
I had a copy, but it was a long copy. I had to keep that, so.
Yeah, so it's in there as an option, because if you wanna modify it, we have to make a recommendation on it.
But. Did you find table 4.4?
Over here, on the Excel sheet?
I can hear the table 4.4.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't find it.
It's the very first
No, no.
one.
Here. Table 4.4 is the first, refers to it.
Okay, it might not have printed with the
Cause I
UBC
went
text.
to look for 4.4. Table 4.4. I missed it somewhere.
It's, I don't know what sheet this is. So it would be just after section 4.11.
Oh, okay. How do you look for numerical order? So 4.11.
It's table 4-4, section 4.11.
It's a little outdated
There.
at this point.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yeah. That's after table 4.1.
We have some.
I
I
didn't
didn't-
make the copy.
I'm just harassing you.
Not that low.
Cause I wanted to look at that.
How about that?
Cause that's referred to on that one. Okay, we got 2 minutes.
You doing all right? Good.
Just to show you how much everything makes sense. That's really good.
Pardon? Because we were checking, they need a copy of the voters. Well, they referred us to go to them, and that's not true, you have to go through the mayor. You will have to go to the county attorney to get, go to the election. So that's, all right. We've been waiting on it. All right, we'll call the meeting to order of our city planning and zoning commission workshop and meeting. Do we have anybody wants to speak on anything?
No, sir.
Okay, and, public comments, we have none. I'm not gonna read the whole thing about the public comments. And if you have an item you wanna speak on, you also have to sign up for that when we get into our meeting on agenda items. So if you haven't got that done, you need to hustle up, get it done. Cause we're rolling now. Okay, so we're gonna move on to, 3 point, the purpose of the public workshop for discussion. There will be no formal action taken. The public may attend the workshop. We'll go to 3.1, open workshop to discuss proposed changes, unified development code.
Planning and zoning commission, we went through the unified development code. It's all 9 chapters that we went through. There are 27 potential changes that we have on this spreadsheet. Of those, 11 of them are legislative. They're almost non-negotiable. We can talk about verbiage, but at the end of the day, anything that in the packet, in the Excel sheet that has House bill, state bill, Texas local government code, whatever it may be, we gotta come into compliance. Even if we don't approve it, we're gonna follow state law. It's just the way it is. So it's more of a cleanup item. Of the changes, 8 of them are in chapter 4. So you'll notice on our agenda, we have a workshop from Kimley Horn to do zoning. So there's 2 options when it comes to these 8 specific ones. We can make changes now, or we can let Kimley Horn do the workshop and update the full zoning code, and it will all be resolved in hopefully January. It's at your discretion whether or not we do this update. It's almost like putting a Band-Aid on some of our issues in the meantime. Any zoning changes that are coming before us now, city staff has adopted the policy that we will make them do a workshop. So I'm not sure how many zoning cases we could get between now, actual decision zoning cases between now and January.
Excuse me, if we make those changes now, then they would have to be in compliance with that before February. Anybody that was interested in zoning change.
So they would fall under the regulations set forth at the time of their zoning approval. So if something gets approved now, it will be under whatever code they're approved under. If something gets approved in January, it's whatever the code they're approved under is. So anything that gets approved between now and the official adoption of chapter 4 specifically will be under the existing code. And then anything after the fact will have to come into compliance with the new code,
So
essentially.
any changes we make on our zone won't affect anything until after February, is that what you're saying?
No, sir. Any changes we make or recommend for approval today will impact any developments that get approved between now and January.
Okay, it will affect.
It will.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay.
With that being said, anything that has gotten zoning approved is grandfathered, in a sense, up to a certain amount, and then anything after will be under the new zoning ordinance. So, we can walk through these 8 changes if you want to. I would leave it at your discretion on whether we want to adjust any of these, some of these, none of these. That's the intent of this workshop, along with some of the other items to follow, but.
Anybody have any wish on this? You wanna go through it or not?
Are we talking about totally the 4th chapter, or are we talking about all?
Just chapter 4 on these 8 potential changes, and you'll note that they start on the second page of the Excel sheet.
But that's where you find all the changes that need to be made right now. Okay?
And a lot of these changes are things that need to be cleaned up, so the text doesn't match the chart, or the chart doesn't match the text, or there's a discrepancy or a contradiction later down the road, in chapter 4. Again,
wants to be.
We can modify, we can scratch these from the code update, it's at your discretion.
Any questions you wish to
So is Kim already providing the kind of overview?
So at this meeting, yes, they're gonna give a description of what they're doing, the timeline, they'll introduce themselves. We'll establish a schedule for, workshops, adoption and everything at this week specifically. There's no details, there's no, deep dive into the code yet. They need to, one, introduce themselves, but two, also do a workshop with you guys to see what direction you want to take this over code. So essentially, these changes are just putting a Band-Aid, until January.
But it's to be in compliance with the law.
No, sir. So the first 11 changes, anything in here that's notated as state bill, House bill, Texas local government code, those are mandatory, we have to do this. It's only 11 of this 27. So 8 are in chapter 4, 8 potential changes are in chapter 4. Those are clean up the Band-Aids essentially. 5 of those other ones are minor things like, again, text doesn't match a chart, vice versa. And then 3 are for adopting a DAX. So DAX are design and construction standards. As it stands now, our code references Round Rock. We are at the point where that is no longer the best
We
path.
need to definitely update that.
So what we've essentially done is taken Round Rocks and morphed it into a City of Jarrell one, in a way that makes sense. And our engineers did it, we've all reviewed it. We've made some modifications to fire hydrant designs, which is what our fire department wants. And we've made some changes to water and wastewater specs that match what we do specifically, but it's essentially the exact same thing. We're just changing the verbiage where it says City of Jarrell instead of City of Franklin. So,
Somewhere around town, not the town's house.
We can wait and make the, until our regular P and Z meeting to discuss it further, these items here, and vote on them at that time. If anybody has any questions, that's when we get into our regular meeting. Or we can do that now, but since we have another presentation that needs to be made, I think we ought to wait until we get into our business section to discuss any of these changes. If that's agreeable with everybody. That work for you? Does that work for you?
I was completely at your discretion. I'm here to help.
All right, so we'll just move on then, and we'll wait till we get into our, regular P and Z meeting to discuss if there's any questions about, the changes that are being made or recommended to be made, that we can make our recommendation to the council. Okay, so we're going to 3-2, let's go ahead and do the 3-2. Open workshop to discuss, the project for a gas station located at County Road 305 and 307.
Planning and Zoning Commission, I have Tom Silby here as a representative. We have a presentation that includes all the materials they sent us and I'll click it if you want.
Is this the order?
You just move the other direction.
Move.
Yeah, go ahead.
That, there, okay. So this is the dreaded gas station conversation that everyone hates. Before I start with this though, I do want to show you guys something. And I understand that, we don't want our town to be 100% gas stations from all up and down the street. But I kind of just want to pass this out. I don't have enough copies for everybody, but I'll be happy to send it over to, or pass this along to you guys. Okay? Right now, we have about 7, 8 gas stations, I think, just up and down, basically up and down 35.
7 from 305 to 313.
Okay, 7.
Going
Okay.
north or south, either way, there's 7 of them.
Okay. There's,
Not counting the proposal and this one.
okay. So there are 3 gas stations in Florence, which is a much smaller town than us. There's 2 gas stations in Bartlett that's pretty much non-existent town. It's very small. Here is, and what this is what this shows is basically Georgetown, all right, where you see all of the different areas. So what you'll see is gas stations up and down the major highways, but you'll also see a spattering of gas stations that are kind of in the communities, all right, closer. Dalton Temple, okay? And some of them are so thick that they just kind of go on top of one another. But you can see that it's not necessarily just, and then this one, these are not, they're all different. I was kind of trying to do them in a phase, you know, so you kind of. You get that? Yeah. This is pretty much from where we're at down Rock, okay? So you can kind of see that there's a spattering of gas stations all over the place. What we're proposing is adding one on the corner of 305 and 307. This is entering into, this is very close to the rodeo, okay? It's also close to the elementary school. It's also one of the major inlets for, Solana Ranch, all the development that's going up there. 35 or 305, now that we have Bud Stockton all the way up there, it's expanding. All of our area is expanding, and I didn't do that, okay? Their plan is to have a development of that within 2 years. Now, this isn't just a gas station. There's a gas station that'll be on the corner, but then adjacent to that, as we inflow or as we build up on our population, they want to put a neighborhood retail on there. So the neighborhood retail would be your nail salons, your dry cleaners, your small little pizza place or something like that. But that won't happen immediately. That won't even happen in the next couple of years because the population isn't there yet. But for the gas station, the traffic will be there. The road is widening. It is getting much more traffic over in that area, especially with the school in there. And that's why we're proposing this will be more of a, this will not be something the size of any of the ones out here. This one will be a neighborhood retail or a neighborhood gas station type scenario that you would pull in. And you can see if you drive through Georgetown, you'll drive by them all the time. They're smaller ones, even in Sun City, they're there. If they're done well, there should be no problems with them, okay? This developer of these has probably 30 of them in the Austin area. He's well backed. It's a family owned. It's him and two brothers that own it. This is the design. It is, I like the design only because it's similar to a lot of the buildings I built. But that is the brand that they use. They'll do Market Deli. It'll be a very nice, clean environment, okay? That's one of the ones that's going up now currently. And I believe that this is in Cedar Park, I believe. That's what it'll look like on the inside. It's more of a trendy type scenario environment. Okay? And if you have any questions on it, I'll be happy to answer them. He did say 2 years is what he expects to break ground on it. So what he's planning to do is he's trying to, that whole area right there is going to be commercial. You got right across the street, you got a mini storage facility right across the street.
Is it directly across town?
It's almost diagonal, yeah. It's a little diagonal, not much.
But it's not straight.
No.
Just straight across.
Let's go.
The last slide is gonna have your site plan.
That's almost where the turnoff is to go to the restaurant. It's straight across.
Oh.
Almost, it's just a block.
That's the layout as it sits, what they anticipate. So here would be the gas station. Here would be the gas station. This would be a 10,000 square foot retail space. Plenty of adequate parking, 2 entrances off the 307, one off of 305.
So that'll face 307.
Can you leave it there?
That one?
Yes, because
Okay.
a couple of questions.
Okay. So right here, I believe this is the mini storage right here, correct?
Yes.
They're cutting into this already, they're already doing this is a strip of land that was already acquired from this property owner, and it actually cuts in. So this actually is gonna have to get pushed back a little bit anyhow. This isn't 100% accurate because this road actually cuts in and there's a turn down lane, correct?
Yes.
It's already cut in now, so I'm guessing that, yes.
They're doing the dirt work for it. And to note, Williamson County has approached us about straightening out 307 as it connects. Because right now there's the two sharp 90-degree turns. They've talked about the potential to make it an S curve essentially and straighten it out a little bit.
So my question, because it's interesting that, because this is one of the main things, because I've driven over to the intersection, and that's my question.
Okay.
So I noticed how the entryway is here. Why can't the entryway be here? So who knows when Williamson County decides to do that project, which would be good. I just think it would be safer if the entryway was directly in front of the road for traffic purposes.
And I would agree with you, okay? I just have to get them to say the layout. This was a very quick. I mean,
And that's fine.
We
That's
presented
fine.
them, but all of that could change. This was just a kind of a snapshot to get you guys like a feeling, but I would agree with you. It was done over here, where the Valero is. They tried to match up the streets for the development directly across the street and the driveways and everything else because you didn't want this type of scenario, you wanted this type
I'm
of scenario.
thinking of, if you're thinking of 79 and Round Rock,
Oh, yeah.
Sunrise,
Yeah.
right there at that intersection where you can drive right into the Chevron.
Yeah,
To me, that is the exact same
Yeah.
situation. And that should be done because if the project's already approved with the county to merge those two roads together, I would feel much more comfortable that that's a prerequisite.
Where's the elementary school up there, Tom?
It's
to the north, you have the rodeo over here
Okay.
and then the elementary school is,
Well, you have,
past
here.
the kids.
the
not-
day- the
it's not-
kids-
there's kids zone and
Yeah.
then
The
the,
kids zone's right across from that.
yeah,
No,
Yes, it
No,
is.
it's
No,
the
it's not.
Michoud track.
Yeah.
So,
Kid zone is almost at the corner of 305.
see right here in this
Hold on, give
picture,
us a
you have, here's
I
the,
can't.
just a road, it give you, you've got all this road, so basically you have kid zone right here. And
What zone? You see there, kids zone is sitting right about there.
it's further down, it's down. here.
my understanding was kids zone was, thank you, was here.
sorry.
No. Stop.
I'm
Was
working
here?
on it, sorry.
Was
Okay.
here?
That is kid zone, so
Okay.
this track is split midway between the
That's right.
Michoud and the kid zone.
Right.
It's right between them.
Correct, and then they've reserved this piece
Mhm.
and probably,
Kid zone did.
what's that?
Who reserved that piece?
This is the owner of this track,
Kid zone.
they just sold off that part. I don't believe that this is kid zone, this corner
No,
piece.
it's Solana Ranch.
Right, it's still Salon Ranch, so they're reserving that corner. My guess would be gas station, is what they would want.
I would
Well,
assume
that's,
as well.
you know, I have a big problem with the traffic flow to the elementary school. It's already a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it's gonna, with all the development that's going on around it,
You're gonna
there's gonna
have,
be a lot more.
you're gonna have stoplights, you're gonna have, I mean, you have to kind of think of this long-term. It's not something that's like today, but down the road, this is an ideal location for something like this. It's not gonna be developed in 2 years, it's gonna be, it's not gonna be developed tomorrow. So by that time, there'll be other stuff that's happening and stuff. You have to kind of look at it and say, okay, where are the good spots to be located? You don't want all the development to happen, then try to come in to do all of this stuff. You wanna do it in reverse. You wanna pick the locations and say, this is where we have to put it, okay?
I believe that there was an approval for 487 in Bud Stockton, but it was not while I was here, so I'd have to verify that.
Right.
And then, the one on just north of Reagan that we just approved, the Foodies, would be the other one.
But the
I
one on
think
487,
the 487 in
Bud
Bud Stockton is the only one that is not on frontage. So it would be the first of its kind that's not
And this would be the second.
on 35.
And this would be the second one.
And
which
to that
makes
note,
sense.
we did put 305 on a bond call for Williamson County. The intent would be to expand it. We have worked very well with Williamson County to get the right of way to do it, so the majority of it has been acquired. And this area is their focus, given all the development and Corridor J and everything else that's going on. They are looking at roadway projects in this area. It's just unfortunately, roads are a lot of money. So they have to space out the projects evenly. And they had an agreement with the school to get to the school by school open. So now the rest of them will fall into place as we go through it. But the right of way has been acquired on 305 to expand it from Bud Stockton at least to 35. And we did call for it as a project. Whether or not it gets approved, it's the county, but we have done our part to get it approved.
So is the expansion of the road, is that a 2-lane plus a middle turn with shoulder space? Is it similar to what we have here?
We don't know officially yet. I believe the full build out, they wanted to do 4 in a turn, but it's a right of way constraint. So we got them enough to do 2 in a turn, but if they want additional, it's something we're gonna have to negotiate where maybe we pick up the bits and pieces of right of way as we build out, and then it starts with 2 in a turn and then we can expand out to 4 in a turn.
So it'll be the same width as County Road 313. It'll be two roads and a major turn lane, so it'll be a 12, 14, 12, correct?
Something to that.
Okay.
But again, I don't have a set of plans, I don't have an approved bond, but we did call for it and we have done our part.
When would you expect to hear something?
My expectation would be next year's bond call. So,
The only access to kids zone in the elementary is at, 305. I mean,
Well,
307, right?
let's take that scenario that she just said.
They
If
just
this was 313 and this was the frontage here, okay? You've got a population of almost 20,000 people in Sonterra coming out this one road. And the traffic on a 3-lane road, and they're easily able to handle that with no problem whatsoever. So this would be the exact type scenario. You have all of that development up there. If this is wide or this is wide, the 3-lane road can more than accommodate the
Still got
traffic.
development going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, up there, right there, that clear land right there.
So if this is, once again, if this is 313 and this is the frontage road, there's still, you're gonna have,
No,
Plenty of
that
traffic.
spots at one dude's house where he's got the horse barn and $1 million house.
That's on the right, look across the street, look across the street.
Mr. Blotto,
so let me see if I can.
Across
Oh,
the
yeah,
street,
yeah, that one.
same
Yeah.
side as the,
Yeah, that
as
was
the,
approved before we got
yeah, I
there.
know, but I'm just saying.
this one here,
That's a water,
No,
go
no,
across
no,
the
no.
street.
No,
Tom,
this,
straight across.
I think this is what he's referring to, this one
No.
right.
No, so just north
Straight
of
across, just go north
305,
of our water
to
racetrack.
the east.
this one here,
Yes.
That one?
There you
Okay.
go, Tom.
So that's the Canyon Ranch subdivision. It does have a lot of houses, however, Corridor J is clipping through the northeast side of their property. So with all of the roads county will be building off Corridor J, I would much expect their traffic to be diverted that way. Human nature is to get to the biggest road as fast as possible to get you where you're going, without a traffic impact study. I can't tell you exactly how that's gonna look, but in general, people will try to get to the biggest road faster. So,
And it
a lot
makes
of their
more
traffic
sense.
will be diverted north
Mhm.
and not be as impacted on 307.
So will 307 have the same capacity as 305?
305 will be a larger road than 307.
What's the plan for 307, 2-lane?
I'm not entirely sure. At the moment, it's a county road, so,
Because we approved the, well, actually, it wasn't, but there's quite a bit of activity for.
And that goes, that's,
well, and the county is looking at doing an improvement to 344 as well, which ties into Corridor J. I think when that major thoroughfare comes through, it's gonna change the landscape of this area transportation wise. They are feeling pressure to get that done sooner rather than later.
they have to, there's too many homes. There's too many
the
homes.
homes going north of the school.
Yeah, there's,
That's 200,
Well,
or
more
it
than
could be
that,
200.
oh, yeah,
I have 10-acre flat.
there's also the Solana Ranch mud that's coming in. So the county is feeling the pressure to get some of these larger projects
So,
done, and it's gonna change
You know,
the way our transportation works.
I understand the service station, my concern is the safety of the kids, and that kids on, in that elementary school for me. And
And-
having been in the school business all my life, and I've seen traffic jams and they, I mean, and the kids with that grocery store down there, they're gonna wanna walk to that grocery store and get
How
whatever.
come you don't, why aren't you talking about County Road 314 with that S curve, the safety going
I'm
down?
not
Have
arguing
you
that.
seen the
We're
truck?
talking about this one right now.
Okay.
This is one I'm talking, we're
So-
talking about, why not widen 487 also? It looks like a racetrack out there.
It does, it
With the
does.
school going on, but
What-
but that's another deal. I'm just trying to be, I know what you're saying about the growth, I understand that, and yes, it is an ideal place. If I was a businessman and gonna put something in, that would be ideal.
Mhm.
I see it that way, but I'm concerned again about the flow around that school.
And I
And
think
that's
we
my-
have to do, I think we have to do traffic studies, don't we, when you do a site plan? So whenever there's a site plan done, there's a traffic study done for each project that goes in. So when they do their subdivisions up here, I'm sure that they did a traffic study, right?
So for this subdivision specifically, they dedicated the full width of the county
Okay.
right of way, so they were not required to do offsite, improvements based off of the TIA, because they were dedicated the county all for the road.
So my point, I guess, is as the subdivisions are developed, the traffic studies are done. If there is a requirement by the city to dedicate some of the roadways so that they can widen those roads, that is all played into it. So any type of development like that is gonna have a traffic study done, and it has to be done correctly.
I'm sure they've got projected use of that facility, or they wouldn't have gone this far.
That's correct.
And I wonder what I'd like to see their study. What are they projecting their customer base, how many per day? That's gonna determine tell us a lot about the traffic flow.
And I'm not an engineer, I'm not a traffic engineer, but what would probably most likely happen is Jason, or Justin, I always call him Jason.
I do too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Justin would sit down and evaluate the traffic study on every single one of these developments. As you're doing the site plan and submitting it to the city, they're saying, okay, where's the traffic, what's happening on this? Is this adequate, does this work? Especially for the access roads and the driveways coming out of this property, or any of the other properties that are gonna be developed up in this area. They're gonna have to make sure that they're so far away from, a certain, turns, so far away from other developments, make sure that there's flow. All of that is a big picture that's gonna happen over the next 20 years, and I probably won't be here by then, but it's, but that, it has to be done incrementally. It can't be looked at the whole picture. So you say, okay, is this a great location? Yes, it is. So how do we accommodate, and how do we get from, as it's being developed, to the rest of the community? And that's where you have the engineering, that's where you have the traffic studies, that's where you have your infrastructure. Does the water, does the sewer, all of that other stuff, all of that stuff, and that's all done now with a city that's got, a good
So
plan.
let's talk dollars for a minute.
Mhm.
We're
How
gonna
much-
have
How much money, just an estimate, will the city receive just tax-wise? Now,
Well-
I'm talking both, I'm talking property value-wise, if it were built and sitting there, as well as in business. I am sure they have those projections, how
Oh,
much money.
it'll be, I can tell you, in Foodies, okay, Foodies was almost $350,000 a year, something like that,
Is
and
that,
that's-
is
that's
that
one
property
hundred
tax
and
or sales
That's
tax?
sales tax.
sales tax.
That's just the sales tax.
That's
it's
just
not
the
even
sales tax,
property
that's not the property tax, that's correct. Because just from the sale of the gas, sale of the items that are in there, and that's only a gas station. Now,
No,
that
it's a
was,
retail outfit also.
on Foodies?
No, oh, that's right, you're talking about.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
look it
that
up
was,
there.
right, on that one, it's a retail, so now, yes, it probably won't have the same amount of volume, but I would anticipate something like that for the sales on it, I would
That
guess.
one's gonna have a lot more than the one on
I think it would be something to have to be able to present to council. those figures.
Yeah, I'm sure he can get something
I
like
want
that.
council to understand, if they're gonna vote something down,
Yeah.
that they're voting, they need to understand how much money they're voting down.
And it's inevitable
Money
too.
isn't the bottom line.
It's not the bottom line, you're
Safety.
absolutely, safety is a concern as well, absolutely.
To that note, if we need to consider school crossings, traffic lights, that's something that we do, technically in-house. It's something that we can call for.
Nice,
We can
okay.
release an RFP to request a study to be done, about traffic lights, school crossings, things of that nature. Most TIAs won't specifically call out the need for stuff like that, but it's something that we can request at any point in time if there's a given reason. And then, we have been talking, and it's been mentioned numerous times, about doing an overall transportation study. If that's something we choose to pursue, that is also something they would look at, and that, it's just not the cheapest process, like everything else out there. So, it would have to be in the budget to be done, but that is an additional way that we can begin to really manage transportation. We don't have an existing, really robust transportation plan.
We got 2 more presentations tonight. In about 15 minutes, and we're cutting it short here.
I'll wrap it up. Any other questions?
What's the size of the track?
almost 4 acres.
Was the additional building, were both buildings being built together?
At the same time, no.
No.
No, it would be
It was
it would be
just
the gas station, and then once the homes started coming in, then that second spot would be developed and built. Because there's not enough homes yet. You gotta have the homes before you have the retail.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
Okay?
all right, we'll move on now.
Thanks, you
I
guys.
appreciate it, Tom, thank
And
you.
I'm sorry
I hate
for
to
taking
cut you short on your presentation. but-
No, I get it.
So we'll move on to 3.3, open a workshop on the possibility of zoning a change for a gas station located on I-35 and County Road 313.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Gorman with Quick Trip Real Estate, based out of San Antonio. I would like to just kind of give you a quick introduction to Quick Trip. You may or may not have been to one, but in the wrong direction here.
No, you were right. It
Oh, I was
was,
right. There we go. So one of the things we do, we call ourselves more than a gas station. We definitely are much more than a gas station. A quick history on Quick Trip here. We've been around since 1958, made numerous changes to the marketplace that is convenience stores. I mean, the big cup that you get nowadays at a quick or at a convenience store, that's one of our innovations. Self-serve is one of our innovations as far as like food bars and condiment bars and fountain drinks. We deliver fresh pastries every day. We have fresh food offerings, something I'm going to go over here quickly a little bit later on down. But we came down here to the San Antonio market. And actually, I moved down here from Kansas City as a night assistant and helped work my way up. We just opened our 1000th location here in Converse, Texas, not too long ago. So we're moving along since 1958. Still trying to come up and get more stores. This is obviously one of the areas we've identified as a good location here. Just kind of generalized region map of where we are located. We are based out of Tulsa originally. It's where we started in 1958. San Antonio is our newest market, San Antonio and Austin area. The purpose of Quick Trip is to provide an opportunity for employees to grow and succeed. That is, I exemplify that. I came down as a night manager, and here I am talking about where we'd like to build stores. So we do the best, invest in our population, in our culture, in our employees. Try to bring along some of our core values, try to be the best, try to focus long term. Do what's right for Quick Trip, never be satisfied, and do the right thing. We do that internally, and we try to treat our communities the same way that we are a part of, honestly. A couple of things, we're acclimates. We're been on the 100 best companies to work for 15 years. We're privately held. We obviously do a lot of community outreach programs. We do Safe Place, which is a program that assists those minors that are in need of a safe place. They can actually, we post those signs up at Quick Trips as a beacon of safety. They can come in, and I've personally helped some out as some store managers where they've come out and needed a safe place. I harbored them in our back room and then called the safe place location and had an individual come up and assist them. An average store manager makes $80,000 a year with us. An average starting pay for an assistant manager is over $45,000 a year. So we do pay our employees quite well. So investing in the community, like I spoke about, we often do outreach programs. We do, Day of Caring, Folds of Honor. There's just so many things that we do support our communities that we are a part of. Security, store security is something we're very serious about, not only for our employees, but we're also very serious about it for our customers as well. We have 24-hour monitored high-definition cameras, audio. In fact, the police come to us a lot if there's ever an incident where they think they could possibly glean a little bit of information from one of our cameras that might have caught something even off-site. So we work hand in hand with police departments quite often. Just kind of give you a quick little breakdown of the angles that our store security does cover. So we cover quite a bit of our property and some off property. Speaking of that fresh food, here's some of those items we do offer. We offer fresh made pizza in-house, hot pretzels, tacos, sub sandwiches. I work for Quick Trip at our headquarters, but I work right next to a Quick Trip, and I go there for lunch every day. In the morning time, fresh pastries, like I talked about, they are fresh delivered and made by Quick Trip every single day. Some of the things Quick Trip employees are saying, or customers are saying, they love the smell of the QTs, it's always clean bathrooms. We are a highly rated customer service, and we pride ourselves in our customer service. There we go. So just a basic store design. We are in the sort of beginning stages of the designing process, but this is what we have in mind for something like here in Jarrell is a canopy for gas canopy up front, our convenience stores, and then a diesel bay in the back. Not a truck stop, just minimal diesel offerings to capture some of the truck traffic that is on the highway. This is just an elevation, a perspective of the building of what our general store, our standard store design is currently. We do offer the tables outside for sitting, and then the safety barriers around the store as well, so everyone can feel safe around the store. Just another view of our stores, our standard stores, our canopies. This is the site plan that we are currently running through. Obviously, there's going to be some changes that happens typically with a site, but this is the latest version that we have. There could be some alterations just based off of the text conversation that I'm currently having, but this is our general improved internal design. And this is the current site location that is right off of I-35, the frontage road there, and kind of meets up with CR 313 on the back end. One of the things that we would be looking at would be a sign variance request for height, and the reasoning behind that is that large billboard that is right where we would ideally put our sign to catch traffic. And you can see there at 30 feet, we would be below sort of right there, and sort of our QT would be caught up into it, and then all the way up to the 50 feet, 40 foot, and 60 foot would block either our QT actual advertising or the sign for the prices as well, which blocking the sign, and we couldn't, being on either side of that sign wouldn't still create that barrier. I did go ahead and include the sign there, but we take drone image from each elevation, and so we don't just pull from a hat a specific height that we would want. 74 feet would get us to a point where our pricer would be able to be shown, and that QT would be. So the reason why, obviously the billboard, that is the reason it's causing that obstruction, and we feel like it would be giving somebody a competitive advantage to have a sign that they can be seen from the highway while we could not. We're not trying to go so high, like 100, 150 feet, that we'd be seen from the exits. We do realize that they are considerably far away, so that's not what we would be requesting, just something to be above that billboard.
That's about the highest spot we got.
That, I mean, yeah,
Where
it
you're
is,
set, where you pick the site that you're proposing, is about the highest spot we got
And-
here.
but one of the things on that is that it does create the, on the intersections, you have that site visibility here. So we couldn't put it directly in that site visibility to limit the site, so we have to bring it back out. And then also give it clearance for the, access points. So in between the two access points that I have, actually.
It's okay, but I mean, we gotta move on because
Sure.
we're gonna get into somebody else's time here, and I hate to shut you off, but, we're supposed to start our meeting at 6.
Not a
And then
problem.
we could, adjourn to a recess if we have a motion, I guess, in our regular meeting, until if y'all wanna hear more of what he has to say. So-
But generally, I'm here, you know, honestly, to just, if I could, the only thing is the site where we have the zoning would be C3, and then get a special use permit for gasoline or sales, and then the sign, and then some truck parking variances. We're not trying to fill up a whole lot of trucks, we're just trying to give them some parking, so if they wanna come and get a bite to eat, they wouldn't block the site, basically.
We do have an ordinance on billboards and signage.
Yes.
I do have a little, probably an issue with the signage as well, just because of, you mentioned where the exits are at.
Right.
You can't see that sign
Correct.
unless you are right in front of the place on the interstate, you're not gonna see it. So by the time you're gonna pass it, you really don't see how that's gonna get somebody to turn around and come back. You're catching everybody that's coming into Sonterra, that's really where your business is gonna come from.
We would ideally like to be seen by the individual passing by, and part of it is we would have to choose to be seen by northbound or southbound, and that's kind of the request, where that billboard's going to block part of that, where you're either gonna be blocked southbound or you're gonna be blocked northbound at that location. And due to the visibility triangle of an intersection, we couldn't put it out there in front.
There's a historical one that goes to.
Yeah.
There is, yes.
So we need to go ahead and move on, because we've already put her next.
If I may, we
Pardon?
don't, so we don't have to stop at 6 PM for
Okay.
the workshops, we can go past, we just
Okay.
have a couple of folks.
If everybody's comfortable with that, then we'll go ahead and, you go ahead and.
No, you're fine. I was generally done anyways. I just, yeah, the conversation about what we would be requesting them to be above, the typical standard that a code is written, right? So 30 feet, code is written, and then, not too sure on the truck parking aspect, but we would definitely put some no overnight parking.
I'm kind of I spend a lot of time on the road hauling kids left and right, all over the state, different states, and I don't like to see billboards. You pull into a town and it's loaded with billboards, and it has other things on it besides the business on it. And if you got kids with you, sometimes you don't want those kids to see those triple X's up there, and other things. And I'm not interested in seeing our town being seen as billboards. That's my personal thought. I know what you're saying about trying to draw people in. I understand that, and there's a way to do that without putting a humongous billboard.
Well, it
I
wouldn't
mean, you
be,
just got that small QT paint sign, that probably will
Yeah,
work, but
I think-
75 feet in the air, man, oh man, we got a pretty good wind down here. I know you guys in Oklahoma, but we got a pretty good sized winds here, and they will fall.
Yeah.
we built them to strength to withstand wind power, or so it's higher rate of wind, but
They will fall.
we take care of our sharp signs. If they do fall, we will come out and repair them.
Oh, I know, I'm just saying, they do come down. And I've lived in Texas all my life, and I've seen lots of big signs over the ground, and they've got big basements. But I think it's an excellent idea, we're gonna be glad to see you coming in. That just gives us 8 service stations from 305 to 313 on I-35. At least we got one on the north side, or the east side of the interstate now, an additional. To add 2, how many does that give us now, Tom, on that? Within that block though, from Meadow Valley Loop to I-313, how many you got? 1, besides Valero, 1, 2, Denny's, 3, Sefco's 4, what's the other? You got 5 or 4? All within,
In that small area,
yeah, in that very small area. I'm just saying, that's what we're gonna have.
Right.
On the east side of the interstate, we only got
Yeah,
two
correct,
on
sir.
the east side.
And to your point,
I mean, west side.
I do agree with you. You have quite a few, and some of them actually have larger than the 30-foot sign code is written. And I understand there have been changes to code in time that we're coming in after, and I do understand that, but it does create that competitive advantage where they have signs and they
And
can't.
access, they're right at the access road, you're not. They're gonna have to access way on back down there towards, Texas Star. To get off, to get you on the access road,
Mhm.
you can't get off right there. You can get on right before you get to Interstate 313 and get off again right past it, but you can't get off until you're back down there by Texas Star.
Okay.
To come down the access road, which is about, what, 2 miles? About 2 miles, where you're gonna get off, and you'll be on access road, which there's a lot of traffic. You're gonna see a lot of traffic on that road.
I do, yeah, hopefully.
Well, there, it already is there, I'm sure y'all have done some studies on it as well, a traffic study on to determine the number of customer base that you might have, so you can afford to put this in. And I think it's a good thing, though, I'm not trying to discourage you, but
No, I'm just, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to make a point of why we would want a sign higher than 30 feet, because that billboard does create that problem, and that's the only issue.
So this is 3, in theory, separate applications. So we have the change to C3, which matches where the property is located. We have the conditional use for fuel service, and then the sign variance would be a separate application that can be discussed at a later date. I think it's worth noting that Williamson County, TxDOT, is working on putting traffic lights in Bud Stockton,
yeah, 313.
313
Yeah.
Bud Stockton.
Yeah.
I looked to see if it was on a project and I didn't see it.
It's
Sorry.
not, that's not where we're gonna find
Because
it.
that is definitely one thing that I thought about, because yes, traffic flow is nice somewhat over there, but we all know could be much better.
Just try to go underneath, underpass it, 7 in the morning, on 487, go back.
That's also, they're looking at that as well. But,
But
their call for projects for lights and signal warrants did include Bud Stockton. It was ranked, so every year they get a list of all the projects that warrant a signal within their area. Out of all of them, and I believe this year there was about 125, something ridiculous, that intersection was 5. So how it happens is, when they get issued the funding to do all of these projects, it's a rolling basis, and you just go down the line. So they started project 1 in August, and then they'll start project 2 shortly after, and it just roll it out. We're number 5, so it's coming down the pipeline pretty shortly. We have confirmed with our textile engineer that it's coming, which will help mitigate some of the traffic issues there. And then their access from frontage will have to be textile approved. It's completely outside of our jurisdiction, so whatever they agree upon, that's.
Which we're in the middle of talks with them now. To bring up your point about the monument, we actually are talking to Williamson County Texas Historical Society about relocating and moving, so we're going about everything the right way.
They have a lot of boxes to check, and they're working on
Absolutely.
checking those boxes. As far as the sign variance goes, the way that our code is written today, it's at your discretion. If a sign variance is brought before council, there can be any number between the standard that's set by code and what the applicant is requesting. So it can't go over that, but the range there is open to negotiation. Their signage is not a billboard per our code. It is considered a freestanding sign, so it has to follow all of our regulations that apply to it. That'll include their structural engineering, which it does have to be, all that good stuff, their distancing, their site triangles, everything has to be approved in that. The billboard that's on site, is there any chance that y'all are buying it?
So I'm the real estate manager for Quick Trip.
Pardon?
I'm the real estate manager for Quick Trip.
Okay.
Been there 29 years. And so the billboard, we hate billboards. We do advertise on some, we have probably more than you do.
I know the one you have, is conservative.
Yeah,
Or you traditionally.
for now,
traditionally.
for now, it is.
But we wanna make sure we don't.
Right, and so we are actively trying to, there's a right of first refusal on the property from the billboard owner. And so they have decided not to exercise the right to purchase the property. They have a couple more years on their lease. And typically in these situations, as soon as the lease is up, we have the billboards removed. Because one thing, we're different than any other gas station, okay? Our focus is on food, and gas is a secondary. What happens is everybody buys it. So in all this thing of selling food and all these pizzas, we're really gearing ourselves towards the soccer mom. And so moms come in and they want a certain look, they expect a certain cleanliness, they expect all these things. For us to attract all that, every time we can get something out that's opposite of that, then we work really hard to do that. And so it may not be today, it may be 3 years from now when that sign comes down, but we just don't
Well,
like.
I appreciate that myself. I like our town, it look clean.
We have a very strict billboard policy. If any billboard accidentally falls, they cannot erect it again.
Yeah.
So,
And from you guys' traffic issues, so one of the things we're really big on is you do not want to create, it's the free flow. And so it's a matter of not being a hassle, that's the whole point of being convenient. And so we not only work with TxDOT in terms of getting like your access points, but when it comes to signalizations, one of the first things when we met with Jarrell, the city people, was that we built enough of these that I personally have to go out and count traffic at every signalized intersection. So you may have seen me at some point, what's this guy doing in the middle of the road? I'm personally counting the flows of every bit of traffic. We do that because when we go to a location, we start working with Jarrell and whatever municipality it is. The first thing we're talking about is we know we're probably gonna need a decel lane, we might need a right turn lane. We start talking about signalization right out of the box. The other thing we do that a lot of people don't do is we don't ask you all to pay for our improvements, okay? Because if I lived in your city, the first thing I'd say is, well then, why would I pay to have you guys come here? Then just don't come. So when we meet with the cities, what we say is development should be paying for development. So we work, how do we go and help out your road situation? How do we help TxDOT signalize this? And you can't just signalize one intersection, more than likely you gotta go on the other side of the highway. It all has to sync up. So we spend our money doing this so that you all can keep your money, because at the end of the day, you can say no, and you don't have any more of a traffic issue, and you don't. If you say yes, you potentially have better roads that flow better because we're the ones that's doing the work. So we'll have that. This also is, it's kind of a messed up piece of land, and that half is in the city and half isn't. Okay, so I know you had a question, Mr. Oliver, regarding taxes. So Chick-fil-A is very, very busy, right? Your standard Chick-fil-A, if it outperforms, is running about $5 million a year in sales, okay? I don't know you guys' exact makeup, most cities make 2% of that. So the sales tax on a Chick-fil-A is $100,000. You won't get any sales tax off gasoline or diesel sales or anything like that. So you'll get property tax. And an average, I mean, Quick Trip's one of your nicer built stores, you're gonna get $60,000 to $70,000 a year in property taxes. And we run more than Chick-fil-A would, okay? So you'll get in excess of $100,000. The one thing we do is, when Paul said it's a private company, it's private. It's wherever you go across the United States, they wear the exact same uniform, they greet you the exact same way, and if you like Butterfingers, in the exact same spot. So the drawback to Quick Trip is that we don't go into a community and try to fit and mold to what sometimes people like it. Some cities say we want something different. We go in and we say we can guarantee you what we're going to provide you, because the only people you're going to talk to are Quick Trip employees. Most of us long term, I think Paul's 10 or something here. Six. So you get exactly what you asked for. When we tell you that we're going to do something, it's exactly the same way. You can go to Georgetown and it's going to look exactly like that, because you have people you have to answer to. And they may say, well, how do you know they're going to have great looking grass? Well, you'll know because if you go to any Quick Trip, everything's manicured, there's no weeds. Because again, moms don't like buying food from places they don't want to eat at that looks bad. So everything you'll see is a little bit different. We are a gas station, but that's more like, I always say, it's like a Rudy's. And that is Rudy's a gas station, or a barbecue place that sells gas. And we're more looking not so much to compete with the other gas people, we're more looking to sell a bunch of food and be somewhat of a fast casual restaurant, if you will.
So for the selling food point, because you definitely want people to come in and hang out for a little while, are you going to install electric chargers for electric vehicles?
Great question. Right now, we do not do that. Okay, that's a great question. So one of the biggest reasons are people at Quick Trip, the whole thing is to come in and come out, okay? what we're finding is that chargers are best spent at sit-down restaurants where you're gonna be there for 30 minutes or an hour. Because then, like, say like at a Cracker Barrel, that's where you want, what we feel is that's where you want your chargers to be, not at the place where you're coming in 15 minutes. We have 3 doors, actually 4 front doors. Everybody likes to park by the front door, right? Well, we ran out of front door parking, and so what we came up with is we added 2 doors on the front and 2 on the side with parking outside, so we have 4 front doors. But people want to come in and go out, and so the tables are out there, not to hang around and eat, although some people do, but you can't be a food place without some sort of a dining area. And what we found is by putting those tables out there, people start looking at you differently. This isn't a gas station, it's a food place. So the idea is you'll go there, you'll buy food, you'll pick up a pizza after soccer and bring it home. So if charging changes at some point, that'll be something. The reason we have the diesel bays in the back is we're not trying to cater to 18-wheelers off the highway. The problem we have is that 18-wheelers keep filling up at our gas pumps, and it's low flow pumps. Moms, all of our studies are with women. Moms do not like pulling up the minivan next to a pump with some guy pumping it at diesel into an 18-wheeler. So we found is in areas with high construction, like Jarrell has, we put a separate island, we keep all that separate. That's why we have that parking there, so that when they want to come in and grab a drink, they're not pulling up and, because these guys, they'll drive over landscape, curbs, they'll park right up where the kids are, so we keep everything separate. And then later on, when the diesel sales, go away and the construction's over, 5, 6, 10 years, whatever it is, then that can be redeveloped into a different use, and it could be who knows what could happen, whatever we sell it to at that point. But we try to keep control and keep everything segregated, keep everything different, so that those who want to have something different can have that.
So is the intention, because of course you can see coming off the access road, that's where everybody's gonna come in basically. So the big trucks that come in, where are you wanting them to exit?
If you look actually,
On Schwartner, or are you wanting them to try to get back out on?
we'd like for them to make a movement, and I'll just show you real quick. They would come in and directly move back out and hit it back up north.
Can you show
Yeah,
the?
by all means, if you just want to bring up the site plan, yeah, so you would come.
I want the picture where, the larger picture, that.
Yep.
That's what I want. So
Got it.
where do you want the truck to come back out on the road?
Absolutely.
Based on that drawing, right?
100%, so they would come in
Right,
here,
yes.
fill, make the movement back out, and go back out.
Stay on access road,
Yep.
It just looked like it was further closer to
I
the
know.
intersection based on this drawing, so that's the only thing I.
And some of that, it did change the conversations with TxDOT. We have moved it back some, and we're in the middle of making some small changes to those access points, but ideally the movement is still the same. Where it comes in, fuels, takes back out.
If there's one good thing about a trucker, they don't like navigating around kids and automobiles. So we've kind of got to where we steer them in one way and they come out another way, so they're in and out and back out. The frontage road is built to handle that. The interior roads typically in a city are not. So that's one of the reasons we don't go a lot of times interior, because when you get in there, you start drawing people in, and the idea is to keep them up off the highway. I know you guys, not everybody's excited about all of them on the highway. The good point about being on the highway is that as your city builds out, you don't have to worry about all the people from 35 flooding Jarrell and going all over the place trying to find a diesel pump or something like that. So we try to, as much as we can, we try to stick up as close to the highway as possible.
Anybody have any concerns about the entrance exits on
Nope.
Schwartner back there?
No, I don't.
About back
I
there?
don't think so. I think Swagger's fine right now.
Yeah.
Well, and again, part of those roadway improvements, at the final layout, after they've talked to TxDOT and everything like that, especially with the overpasses being signalized, that would be the opportunity for us to ask for additional right-of-way or roadway improvements, or, there's no guarantee on what that looks like, so I won't make any promises, but
You
if
still,
everything else is covered, that's the time to ask.
you still got a small tank, pond, whatever y'all call it.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about like sewage or, yeah, we have looked at our most recent internal meeting is we're looking
Right
at
back in there.
possibly doing
Yeah.
something that maybe acquire a tiny bit more land to accommodate that. If we can't work something out with the multiple different utility companies that possibly.
And we may drag, we dragged, if you're familiar with the I-30, I'm sorry, 130 corridor, you go down to Pecan in Pflugerville, we took almost a half mile, we took sewer and we ran it, and we went underneath 130. I mean, when I say that development pays for development, Quick Trip will handle all of that, and so it was designed, we drug it over, there was nothing over there, then it blew up. And so if someone will allow us to work on another one in 79, I heard someone talk about 79 in Round Rock, we're looking at taking sewer from the Walmart east all the way to 110, and that's all at our cost. And so you factor this in long term, and so a lot of these things, I don't want anybody to get too hung up on the sign, but some of the stuff, when we put these signs up or we do certain things, what that allows us to do is that allows corporate, we're able to then sell to corporate the reason we should be putting in $800,000 in sewer lines, or why we need to spend $500,000 in signals, is that, okay, this city or this municipality, we work with them, they're giving us a little bit of a variance here. On the flip side, we're shouldering all the cost of whatever development or whatever infrastructure needs to be done. And that way you all can receive 100% of the benefit versus, it's just going on the easiest corner we can, pop it down, and then come and arguing later that you guys have to spend your money to, go fix the intersection. It's better for us to do it. That way, the next time we potentially come to town, you guys will say, you know what, the deal worked so great last time. Yeah, how do we get a second one here? I mean, you'll see some competitive changes as customers start changing where they go, because most people flock to, unfortunately for some, unfortunately for us, they flock to the one that looks the nicest, is the cleanliness. The last thing I'll tell you, the Quick Trip you see today, it changes every 5 years. So we've only been in this market 6 years, and we've already remodeled every store, not just in the company, but in this market. And so we're getting ready to go through and remodel all of our coffee areas. So about every 4 or 5 years, we go through and remodel 1,000 stores to where it takes about a year and a half, but they all look identical. And that's kind of our thing, to where you guys can go online and look at other stores and go, these guys aren't lying, it's identical. It's expensive, but as people move around and they come to Central Texas, we have people that are familiar with us in Phoenix or Iowa or Alabama, and then they go, my God, it's the exact same thing. I haven't seen this before, so. But
You have
anything
a
you guys
nice,
come
you
up
have a
with.
nice facility.
Yeah, thanks.
I've used them in hauling kids, and they're safe. So
We don't put
because-
your XXX.
No,
We not, no.
no.
What I was gonna tell you is, not only do we, if you walk into our stores, here's another thing I would notice, if you guys are concerned about that. When you walk into most C-stores, what do they have right by the door? They have that big horse trough of beer cans that they're trying to sell to everybody, right? You walk into a Quick Trip, you don't have that. The beer's in the back corner.
That's right.
We don't have any displays. We're not out there publicizing it, because again, who are we going after? We're going after mom and their kids. The dads out there, that doesn't bother them, okay, so they'll get through that. But if you're gonna attract the soccer mom, they don't mind that you sell beer, they just don't want it in their kids' space. So we keep all that separate. We don't sell rolling papers. Back when they had magazines, some people still read them. We didn't carry any of that stuff, and we actually deed restrict land. If we ever have extra, we deed restrict it against a host of uses, liquor stores, pornography, all these things. Because we're from Oklahoma, it's kind of in the Bible Belt. Our people are very particular about who is around us, and anytime we can control that. Because again, not knocking other businesses, but they're there to build it, sell it, have someone else run it. We're there to own it and be a part of the community, like Paul said. If you're gonna be part of the community, you have to worry about who's across the street, who's next to you, and anytime you have control, and it may be out of your else's control, when we have control, we'll leave the deed restriction behind to where legally they can't do some of the things that they've done in the past.
And other things, that our CEO and owner, Chet Cadjo, he says that he will never sell anything he wouldn't sell his mother, which is totally true. Going to any Quick Trip, nothing offensive at all.
So, anything we can do to help get through some of the things, we're very open. We're definitely excited to work with staff in terms of how do we
Gotta go.
mitigate
Gotta go.
traffic things.
Gets that line once in a while. The print's kind of small, but it's hard.
You tell us the font, we can bring it.
I do that.
Very, very helpful.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
I guess in closing, I just wanted to, we did not just pick out of thin air 72.4 feet, you know, it was through exhaustive drone imaging going through what is the bare minimum to be seen, so that's the only reason for it.
If you look at the height of the spot you picked, it's already.
No, I can agree, it is
pretty
high, but that billboard, once again, sits at that same elevation too,
Which
which is the complication.
Which one is it? Oh, the one right there.
Yeah,
But if you count the number of billboards, just go right to the edge of the city limits, Jarrell, and go north. Count the number of billboards, you see all the way to Temple. Count the number of billboards when you get right outside. It's right through this area, 313 or 305, down to Ronald Reagan. Count the number of billboards there, then count the number of billboards on down to Georgetown.
right.
See where they put them all. Right here, Jarrell, that's just a lot of.
But there's a reason for that, right? You have everybody merging in, so.
Well, we had, but the reason we came, back then, there wasn't even a plan on Reagan Boulevard back when it was here, 30 years ago. It wasn't here, but that's another story, but anyway.
Thank
And
you
they
very much for your time.
advertise football, first football team, we want that. No, I'm just joking.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
Presentation, thank you. Moving on, okay, we have an open workshop, with Kimberly Horn to discuss project facilities, anyway. Zoning code update. And, thank you, sir.
Thanks again, fellas.
Planning and Zoning Commission, we had an existing contract with Kimberly Horn to do staff augmentation, so it was an on-call service, hourly rate whenever we needed something, if staff was too overwhelmed with stuff. With that being said, the financial feasibility of doing a full UBC rewrite is just not in the budget this year. So our solution to that is having them do a zoning code update under their existing staff augmentation contract. We do have budget for that. So with that being said, the team here is Ethan Hartwell and Madison Graham with Kimberly Warren. They're gonna give a short presentation. There's, again, nothing official, no changes, nothing in-depth to this today, but feel free to ask them any questions about the process, what this may look like, what they need from you, what you need from them, etc.
Absolutely. As Jordan said, my name is Ethan Harwell, and this is Madison Graham. We both have had the privilege of working with Jordan in different capacities over the years. We're very excited to be back here working with her and with you guys. Jordan has told us nothing but good things about this board and how you work to better your community. What we'd like to do today is tell you a little bit about ourselves, who we are, what we do, how we can help, and then jump in to discuss the scope of our project and what we're going to be working with you guys on over the next few weeks. Kimberly Horn is a full-service planning, engineering, landscape architecture firm. We're across the country, but here in the Austin area, we have an office right down the road in Georgetown, an office in the Arboretum, and then an office in off South Parkway in South Austin. Jordan and I primarily work with public sector clients as well as some private sector clients on planning and zoning related matters. We have had a long history of working on zoning code updates across the state. Some of those examples are up on the screen there. But here locally, we've also done some recent work and some progress anywhere from Georgetown, where a lot of my background is, Hutto, Pflugerville, Liberty Hill, Cedar Park, Leander, Austin, Utica, Kyle, Dripping Springs. If there's a jurisdiction in the Austin area, we've probably done work there, which gives us a really great exposure to what is going on in the market here in the Austin metro area, and a different exposure to a variety of zoning codes, styles of regulation, and a lot of exposure to boards, like planning and zoning commissions and city councils. So we have a good feel of how you as decision makers use these codes and these tools, as well as how developers use these codes and tools to make decisions about their plans. The scope of the chapter of the UDC we're going to primarily be looking at is chapter 4 of the UDC. We're looking at 3 parts: your zoning districts, how they're defined, what they look like, what they're trying to achieve, your permitted use table, what goes where in your city. That's incredibly important. And then lastly, taking a look at the lot design standards. That is the first kind of primary level of regulation about the look and feel of your community, before you get to things like architectural standards, landscape standards, and that sort of thing.
Can I
Yes, sir.
interrupt you?
Oh, yes, sir, please do.
Have you got a copy of the plan here?
I don't have a copy with me, but I've read it, yes, sir.
Okay, so we want to try to develop our codes for our master plan.
Yes,
So
sir.
best we can. I'm just, maybe I may be quiet, but
No, sir, good.
we spend a lot of money on that, this year won't have to be supported by.
Yes, sir. So y'all completed that in 2021, correct? Yes. So,
Yes.
your future land use plan has a lot of conversation about encouraging development within the city limits and especially about diversity of housing, correct? The permitted use tables in your zoning districts have a lot to do with that. Making sure that those are aligned with the types of dwelling units that developers are trying to bring to Jarrell and that they can be comfortable on, that people want. Has a lot to do with this here in your code. Additionally, making sure that those types of dwelling units are permitted in the right place in your city has a lot to do with achieving the goals set out in the comprehensive plan and creating a wonderful community for residents of Jarrell. And then your lot design standards, as I mentioned, those are basic building blocks. Those are your primary, those are the primary way you control the look and feel of your community. Those are things like setbacks, impervious cover limits, build-to lines, height limits. We want to make sure that those line up with the rest of it. In reading through some of this seems to be where most of the alignment, disalignment within your code comes. Some of these terms are confusing or they conflict with other terms in your code, and cleaning that up would be a large step ahead for making this code a usable document for both residents, developers, and decision makers like yourselves. So, we hope to kind of work through this process with you guys for final adoption of the revised ordinance by January 2024. So what we expect is to be back here with you the second week of October. We'll get the caps on to have a discussion with you and really dive into the code in detail to hear about the problems and concerns that y'all have with your code. When you as decision makers are trying to implement this code and use this to make decisions about things like where gas stations can go, where housing can go, what are the sticking points for you? Additionally, we also want to hear about, as you work with developers, what are the things the developers are telling you are sticking points? What are the things that staff are telling you are sticking points? And how can we address those there? From there, we'll come back for a series of workshops and reviews with you throughout the holidays to make sure, one, that we heard you correctly, we understood your feedback, to review some proposed changes on how to fix that, and then finally settle on a final direction and recommendation for you and the city council. That was really all I have today. We're primarily here to introduce ourselves as Jordan mentioned, so happy to take any questions you have, concerns, or sign works.
So as far as the scope of work, you're just looking at our current code and scrubbing it to make sure that everything conforms? Is that the objective? Or is the objective to enhance the code to align with other growing cities? Because there's a lot of things here that we have that don't really align with different locations.
Absolutely. We're here for a few different, really two purposes. One, to help clean up the code. Like I said, there's a lot of inconsistencies, things conflict, things don't make sense. Those are really easy things to just take care of and make this a more usable document. The second thing we're here to do is to help modify some of those code standards, some district permitted use tables, to help you reach that goal from your land use plan, and make this a more usable document. Sometimes zoning codes sit on the shelf for so long, and they get amended over and over again throughout time, that pretty soon things just don't make sense, and maybe what you want to happen in your general retail district isn't actually happening, and we have to kind of go reset. So some of that is a lot of soliciting community feedback. Hey, what do you want to see in your commercial centers? What type of housing do you want to see where, what type of housing do you think belongs together in different zoning categories? But some of that is, looking at peer cities or cities, you wish to be like, and seeing what they do well, what they don't do well, and noting if that's something you'd like to do in your city.
Yeah, even if I can say something else, so it's definitely can you hear me?
I'm an old.
Okay. But yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely like a balance of both. A mixture of, you know, we need to look at peer cities, but also this is your city, so we wanna balance both and also weigh it against your future land use plan. So it's definitely a balancing act to figure out what's right for your community, but yes and yes to your question.
But we're not gonna get it so, we don't want it so complicated that there is no, leeway in for the developer.
Absolutely.
We want them to have some leeway
Absolutely.
for whatever, you know, but we also wanna focus on our master plan.
Yes, sir. It's very important that we remember zoning is only restrictive. Zoning is never permissive. I've actually been working on a project down in Pflugerville right now. It's a mixed-use development, and they have so many rules and codes, and they want to nitpick development so bad, it almost makes you want to pick up and go home.
Yes.
And
We
so-
don't want to.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
But we do have to have some control.
Yes, sir. We do want to give a sense of,
Minimum.
we do want to give a sense of order and health and safety. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, of course. I don't know, are you ready for them to help you? I mean, she does a good job. I'll just tell you that right now, but, I have a little concern.
Yes, sir.
Just a little one. The identification on your page 2, you misspelled Jarrell. And then we go there on this document right here, and we're talking about Mount Pleasant, Texas. Says so right there. Now, we don't want our town to look like Mount Pleasant, Pflugerville, Round Rock, or anybody else. This is Jarrell, Texas.
That was my mistake. I was reviewing the contract on the move on my phone and did not
Okay,
catch it.
well, I just see it signed and everything, so I figured they did it. I apologize, but it has Mount Pleasant. And I know you're visiting other towns, and that's a good thing, see what works and what doesn't work, but this is, we want it to be for Jarrell.
Absolutely. Yes,
It's
sir.
Jarrell, Texas.
Yes, sir.
So-
And we totally understand that. I actually live down there.
I apologize for bringing that up.
No, it was absolutely on me.
But I thought it was because I just thought it was me.
I was in the kid pickup line
'Cause the
reviewing the
top-
contract.
Well, I seen the title up here.
Well, I was not. I apologize for that mistake. So, yes, sir.
Anyway,
No, I think it's really good to bring them on board. The zoning code is really the first step in kind of weeding out what you want where, for a city as a whole. We're very limited as to what we can and cannot regulate essentially. So zoning is really our only mechanism, to get the development we want where we want it and avoid the development we don't want where we don't want it. So I think finding a happy medium between what we can legally do, what the comprehensive plan says, what the community wants, I think it can do nothing but help us out. At this point, our zoning ordinance is, to be frank, janky. So it's something that definitely needs to be addressed.
And it's in our budget.
Yes, so this chapter 4 update, we have done the scope to be within our allotted budget. It's not breaking the bank, it's not it's not a full UDC update by any means. It's a stopgap to get us a couple budget cycles down the road, until we can do a full rewrite.
they signed a contract in February.
Mhm.
So, but we just hadn't seen it. Speak up. But anyway, so anyway, okay, y'all have anything else for us? Or, if y'all have, when you have a meeting, Jordan, when you have a meeting with them, if it's with staff,
Mhm.
can one of us sit down with them, or we just come by and watch and listen? Or would that interfere, make it complicated for you?
No, I think it would be absolutely fine. I believe the intent is to do the workshop to get public feedback first.
Okay, good, yes.
because at this point, I mean, they're going in, with only reading the
Okay.
chapter, so it doesn't really help them. But after the workshop is when we'll start drafting ordinances and working through what that looks like before you get presented with.
Okay.
Yes, so that would be my only ask, we expect to be back here with y'all the 1st of October. If, as you think of things, make a note on your phone, jot them down. When you drive past that one site and you remember how bad that zoning was, or what you wish you could make the developer do, just jot a note down so you don't forget, and we can come back and discuss that in October.
So our deadline, when we're gonna have it all done is February?
No, I'm trying to get the ordinance hopefully signed and adopted in December, depending on how many revisions we take,
Very good.
to take effect January 1.
Okay.
So that would be nice round numbers, and years are the best way to do these changes. So anything submitted prior to, it's under old regulations, anything 24 and up would be
Okay, all right.
the split.
Yeah. Very good. Anybody else anything? We appreciate it, thank you. We're looking forward to it, Okay, now we'll, move on into I'm gonna call a meeting to order of the Jarrell Planning and Zoning. We have a discussion, or is there any public comments from anybody on any of the two items that we have on our agenda? Anybody sign up?
I think,
Tom did?
Do they have to be on the agenda, or you're just talking?
It's on the agenda. Because I say that.
I think we passed the general comments.
That was in your,
Public comments were at the beginning of the workshop.
of the workshop.
Yes, and it states on the.
Then I retract my.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm a law-abiding person.
Oh. Anyway, okay, we're gonna move on. Okay, we have,
So
Pardon?
we didn't even have that clarified.
it's right here in the agenda. It clarified the public comment, and then it also said that if you wanted to speak on an item on the agenda, and you had that opportunity, but go ahead.
No, we have two who signed up to speak. We can call a motion to reopen that section. Again, because it's not agenda topic related, there can be no response to the conversations.
Okay, so it's not related to any of the agenda.
Well,
Okay, and
one is related to the agenda, one is not, so.
okay, the one that's not, I'll entertain a motion that we, that's reconsidered. We've had action already taken, but, all right, it takes a 2/3 majority vote in order to do a reconsider, by opening up and changing our agenda. We're gonna have to reconsider our agenda right now in order to allow them to vote, have voice on the public comment, not related to the agenda items. Okay? So, Tom, you weren't speaking on the agenda item?
Well, your agenda items are just your unified code, correct? And,
152?
and what? And your, consideration of possible actions of your minutes.
That's correct.
That's all you have, right? So
That's all.
those are not what I want to talk about.
Okay, so we'd have to reconsider the vote to allow you to have public comment.
And you guys don't have to go out of your way to do it. I will retract.
It's completely up to you guys if it's not,
Do you
again,
want-
on the agenda.
I don't mind, okay, you don't make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second
do a
that
second,
motion.
okay. We can second that we reconsider the agenda. Since no previous notice was given, it takes a 2/3 vote, so therefore, all those in favor, it is not, never mind. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Did you go, John?
You just said those.
Okay, but anyway, we do have.
Somewhere I need to be, but I'm okay.
Okay, so we have a 2/3 majority to reconsider, so that motion passes. We will reopen the public comments. So we have one,
You have to shoot this one.
we have one on public comments. and that's Tom Slocum.
I'll make it 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time.
I know you guys can't comment back, but I want to just voice my opinion. I would vehemently be opposed to having that quick trip there with diesel fuel. That size of that property is about 8.5 acres. It's exactly the same size as the Flying J. Flying J also separated the diesel from their regular, and those truckers, if you get the truckers in there, they will go wherever they need to go to get out, and they will drive over everything. Anything that attracts truckers, I'm sorry if you're a trucker or whatever, anything that attracts truckers more to that corner is going to be a nightmare. And I would love nothing more than to have some development in there to bring sewer and water across that highway if they wanted to do that. And I'm not opposed necessarily to the gas station, even though that's yet another gas station right there in that same section. But I am absolutely against the truckers there. That corner is brutally loaded with traffic, from coming home traffic and going in traffic. And then we're gonna throw trucks coming in and out of that corner on that property. It's gonna be a nightmare. It is absolutely a nightmare, and our goal is to change the face of Jarrell so that we're not just the truck stop. And I've worked very hard to try to do that. On my 20-acre tract that I've developed, I specifically restricted no gas stations on it. The property where the Starbucks is, I could have had a really nice, and I could have had a huge amount of money for that corner. And I said, no, I don't want another truck, I don't want another gas station on that corner. I think it's a big mistake to have another, and there is no sewer over there, so they're gonna have to pull it in from somewhere. And it's gonna be a huge mistake if you guys vote for that. That's just my opinion.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll move on now to our agenda, regular meeting agenda. And we have Mr. Luna?
Yeah, you know what? I actually thought that it was, I didn't really want to, I thought we were signing in for the P and Z meetings for now.
Well, you aren't, this is the P and Z now.
Yeah, no, it is, but I didn't know that it was to speak. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was like, yeah, I guess Tom's the only one there today. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll put you down as in attendance. That's the old teacher coming out. So we won't bust you, but being tardy. Okay, so we're gonna have discussion on 5.1, consideration and possible action regarding recommendation to the city council regarding proposed changes on the Unified Development Code, and that goes back to Jordan. You want to pick up on that now?
Before we go down the list, I'd like to check in with the general thoughts and feelings of touching chapter 4, given the presentation that Warren gave. We can do some minor modifications to clean up some of the differences, but there's a lot that needs to be addressed, not just between the text and the charts. I mean, there are a lot of updates done that just did not make sense, that did not get codified correctly. So if the wish is to proceed with chapter 4 revisions, we can absolutely do that, or we can leave it for him to want to do in this update.
Well, I think it's a mandate. The sooner we do the mandate, the better off we're gonna be.
So none of chapter 4 is a legislative mandate, it's all of those minor modifications that have made the code wonky, and we've noted it in several meetings where it says they can have 20, but the text says they can only have 12, and all of those things. I don't foresee many cases happening between now and January. The holidays slow everything down, quite frankly. Our meeting schedule's adjusted, so notice is harder. I just don't.
So we won't have to worry about anybody being grandfathered in with it without making these changes.
No, anything that has been approved previously, it is what it is. We gotta,
But if we do it tonight, then it'll take care of anything that comes between now and February. Yeah, or January. January.
Yes, but the changes are so minor that I don't think it would have a heavy impact
Okay.
on any cases that come between now and then, if there are any. With the new policy that a workshop is required, we're kind of slowing down that timeline to get their zoning cases, so I just don't foresee it happening in the next 3 months, realistically speaking.
We'll really let them handle the process and then we can sign it.
Is that the general consensus?
I think so.
Okay,
What did you say? So let them handle what they're, proposed, what they're proposing.
Yeah, I'm very in favor to chapter 4 changes, so.
Yeah. I
so,
am too.
of the 27 changes, that now takes out 8. 11 are legislative, I can't do anything about it. Moving from there, the 3 that are DAPs, are we in favor of adopting a City of Jarrell design and construction standards? Again, it's the
Absolutely.
exact same thing we're using with Round Rock, just the City of Jarrell and some changes for what we are using.
Labeling, labeling.
Essentially.
Okay, yeah, that's my only question, absolutely.
It won't throw off development, it is the exact same thing, almost to a T, just with the City of Jarrell.
Slap Jarrell on
Okay.
it.
There's no point in rewriting an extra. So that takes care of those. So the other cleanup items, we have some things that are contradictory, or vague, and I need guidance from you guys as to what it looks like to do this update. So one of them is in the first section when you first open the UDC, it says new development must maintain small town character, look and feel of community. That is a very vague statement. As a local government without a development agreement, or an overlay, or a POA, or an HOA, I cannot restrict the look and feel of a development. It's just absolutely impossible without one of those mechanisms. So we need to modify that statement to be more clear and concise and give direction and point to something, or we need to remove it from the code entirely. But again, we go into that weird situation where I'm not allowed to restrict this stuff as city staff for municipality, so it either needs to be very clear, very direct, or we need to pull it. I would seek your advisement on direction there.
I think only it would make most sense, because I don't know how you could be more specific without
I
further
agree.
trying to.
I agree with Sally.
Yeah.
Unless someone has a specific way of making it clear in some way.
But that's the
that
point,
that's
you're saying that the more
the-
clear you are, the more restricted you are.
But that's what I think is probably.
My other option would be to add in, reference to the comprehensive plan. So our comprehensive plan as adopted is our goal and vision for the city, that's what we're looking for essentially, and
How
then
does it fit into our company? That's what I think,
Isn't there
Something
reference to
generic.
that?
Well, you could say, you
Right.
could use the and or option with the comprehensive plan.
That means
I
you
need
need
some
to be this
clarification.
language? I don't think you should be able to, she's saying we can't keep this language.
Can't keep it.
Because it's too vague.
All you can do is ask that it conform to a
You don't think
comprehensive plan.
should they go generic reference to the comprehensive plan would be too vague?
well, no, so our comprehensive plan specifically states things like one of our goals is keeping the small town character.
So it just shifts it.
Right, but per our comprehensive plan, the way that they're adopted, it gives some fallback because there's the public input, there is the, it's not restrictive as far as like, I'm trying to force them to meet this. It's as to a
It's their
reference of
choice.
what the community wants, and that takes the liability off of the
It
city.
it gives them a chance to be a good neighbor.
Essentially, yeah.
That's what I see. And I like that idea.
Okay, so we'll,
So y'all, what y'all thoughts on it? Just strike it all out and put that comprehensive plan.
right, so we'll make a vague reference,
Yeah, they,
it'll say something to the effect of, our goals and policies are set forth as recommendations in the comprehensive plan.
Something
that
to
effect.
that statement sounds better.
Alright.
So you wanna make that change? Now, when we get through, we can make it all, we can vote on all the changes in one motion rather than each one individually, if y'all want to.
We'll
You'd
say,
rather-
recommendations as discussed, so like we'll scratch
Yeah.
chapter 4, anything I know on this, as for like the reference in the comprehensive plan, that will be noted as the recommendations for. So the next one is the same section, it says, the city encourages desirable development and construction of infrastructure in the following priority growth areas. We have downtown, 35, and Ronald Reagan. If those are areas we would like to keep as a focal point, we are more than happy to. If you would like to add additional areas, I don't think any of us were expecting 305 to blow up, quite frankly. It has been a recent thing, with Corridor J coming in, with the Solana Ranch mud, that area should be a focus point as well. So we can add areas, we can remove areas, we can strike this whole section out and just say, our goal is always to try to grow in a smart way with adequate infrastructure.
I assumed that probably these were done because this is where our basic infrastructure is at.
So downtown and 35 is where infrastructure was located. Ronald Reagan has been, that I'm aware of, especially the Economic Development Corporation has been pushing for major industrial development. It's always been what they've considered a hotspot. The fact of the matter is, I don't have utilities down there, and I may not for 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years. Because there's no growth in the utilities, it says here that we should be encouraging growth and development in utilities, but I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars in infrastructure investment that, quite frankly, we don't have to run that far.
So in your idea, you would eliminate Ronald Reagan and add 305 in that corridor 6?
It's completely up to you guys. I do think Ronald Reagan will eventually develop. Is it a priority? Is it something that we keep and then we add additional areas like 305 or the northern end of 344 or 487 Bud Stockton? Like these hotspot areas that we're starting to see pick up, I don't think anybody expected 10 years ago that they were going to be hotspots.
I don't see why we wouldn't just encourage desirable development anywhere.
Yeah, I'm for striking the entire.
So just get rid of it unless you wanna shorten it down to Jarrell. We want development pretty much everywhere.
Well, I think it needs to follow
Following
our
the-
comprehensive plan. And our comprehensive plan, I think, does state 305 Ronald Reagan. It is in the comprehensive plan. So my thoughts, it'll come later. Eventually, we're gonna have the utilities or the infrastructure down there, because the growth's gonna be down there. I mean, it's coming whether we like it or not.
But just eliminating that, trying to be detailed, but maybe, I think just eliminating it would be more to the point.
And
I
the
think it's
comprehensive,
more feasible.
Yeah.
Are we all on the same page for doing that?
I'm on that page.
and the comprehensive plan calls out growth areas. But there's mentions and references of different areas, but the city is basically divided into quadrants, and there's 4 growth areas. So whether we reference growth areas, or just say, this exhibit in the comprehensive plan in general, we can cover multiple bases in multiple different ways. It's just really a preference on your part on what you wanna do.
Well, I think we can still have that in there. I still think we can have a comprehensive plan that follows our comprehensive plan. And that doesn't mandate that we have to put the infrastructure in right then at Ronald Reagan, because they decided to put in a big, industrial area out there, let's say. I think at one time that was one of the things, big industrial park. Doesn't say we have to put in an infrastructure for a big industrial park in Ronald Reagan. We'll get there eventually, you know that, we all know that, eventually we're gonna get there, whether we like it or not, it's gonna be there. But listen, I think leave it like it is, as long as it fits a comprehensive plan, let's encourage it. Let's follow this plan and try to help our town maintain that small town.
Are you suggesting adding the language, comprehensive plan to part E, just like we did
Well, I
part
gotta
E?
go with your.
Well, I'm happy to read it.
And
It's big enough.
maybe if we were gonna add something that talked about the comprehensive
Yeah.
plan for both, we could just make it a B that said,
Blur.
Yeah.
Blur,
yes.
you don't have to spell out
combine.
Yeah.
all 3 of them, just put in a comprehensive plan.
So, and would be, because they're in the exact same sections, we just make a point of referencing
Yeah.
that this has already been decided, and then as we update our comprehensive plan, which should be done every five,
one coming up here.
And then you
Ish
don't,
years.
then you don't have to update
we don't have to
this,
change the code, correct?
because you have the comprehensive plan to refer to.
Okay, so we'll
Okay.
add those in the same, reference point. So, moving down the list, there is one in here about the city council appointing the city engineer. Again, we have contradicting text, and charts and everything, so this is a cleanup item.
Where is it?
So currently as it's listed, we have two separate sections that dictate who designates the city engineer. So one says the city manager, one says the city council. So we're gonna leave this essentially up to council as it's their authority essentially, but it may not be their authority. So just as a note, you'll see it on this list, it's a council item that they will need to discuss on who gets.
So you're gonna leave it as with the council decision?
Yes, sir, and it's,
I think that's a good idea.
it's one of the authorities that they have, it's one of those things that,
I think it needs to stay that way.
but just
Pretty
to
good
note that you'll
summary.
see it on there. The next thing is a site development permit. The text states that the final authority on site development permits after engineering review and everything is city staff. But there's a chart that says that it is council's final authority. So our attorney has advised us to go with the text because that is considered more official, in a sense. So it's not a legislative update, but it is under the advisement of our attorney that we modified the chart essentially to match.
To state, what is it gonna state then, what will it say then?
So it will say that the site development permit, the final authority on site development permits is city staff, which is how it is in text. So this is a change between the chart and the text. Again,
Change between what?
there's a chart that has a bunch of
Okay.
X's and O's,
Okay.
and then there's text. We're gonna
Okay.
default to the text, because
Okay.
that's our recommendation, or,
Makes sense.
Okay.
our, advisement, I should say. So, the rest of these going down to page 2 are legislative, there's not much we can do about them. 4.06, this is one change that is in chapter 4, but it's something that we need to deal with. It is part of the design and construction standards section. It's just referencing the design and construction standards in the site development section of the code. Again, it's really a cleanup that can be adopted on the decks, so there's not much, meat to it, it's just the fact that in order to make it consistent and be able to enforce our decks, we have to include that they are adopted in this section of the code.
Okay. That's just a cleanup item.
Yes, sir.
What's that? Okay. Anybody got any questions? All right.
So,
Let's see.
the, remainder of page 2 onto page 3 is section 4, which, we will leave to Kinley-Horn. Moving to the third page. The next thing is, 5.09. It is the 6th one down between two of the dark gray parts. So, we don't have a volunteer fire department, so this is a cleanup item allowing Williamson County ESD 5. They're a full ESD, they're not a volunteer fire department, and then this is just another, small.
We're just gonna change it to ESD.
Yes, sir. As we grow in different directions, we may cross ESD boundaries, and we will address it at that time. If we happen to have a city run one, we'll address it at that time. I don't foresee us blowing out ESD boundaries that quickly, so, when we get there, we'll get there. The one right underneath that, 5.11, Parks and Recreation, our code as it states now doesn't have a lot of teeth in regards to Parks and Rec. So we've talked previously about including fees for them to do actual park developments. Not only right now we require the dedication of land or a fee in lieu. So a modification to this ordinance would require not only the land to be dedicated to the city, but also improvements for the parks themselves. So equipment, material, trails, whatever that looks like. So,
What do you do with the fee and lieu? Have we accepted fee and lieu?
we have not accepted fee in lieu. the way it works is the fee in lieu goes into an account, and the way it should be properly done is that the city is divided up into sections, so using the comp plan for an example, the quadrants, and any dedication made in those quadrants has to stay for improvements in that quadrant. So because we didn't have a mechanism to do that previously, the historical, attitude towards it would be, you build park, you maintain it through your HOA. It's a private park, but you still are gonna have to pony up 6% of your land for said park. All of our current subdivisions that do have a park in some capacity have a privately owned and operated, park because of that 6% fee in lieu. So we didn't get the land, we didn't get the money, but they did build a park for their subdivision.
Which subdivision?
Stonebridge is a great example.
Something.
They did a really great park. Calumet had it waived, and I cannot tell you why.
Mysterious. I wonder how that happened.
Balcones met their 6% requirement with their water quality pond, so at the full build out, they're required to put up some trails and something, but they met that with their water quality pond. Home Place was pre this code, so I don't know what happened with that. Same with Old Town. The Hunter's Glen subdivision has, I wanna say, a 2 to 4 acre park on site. Stone Crown has a huge
I really
park.
want this to get tightened up as far
Right.
as with these developers. I understand they need to make profit, but there's room to have things people want.
Absolutely.
It goes back to the comprehensive plan. When they have to submit their plat, how does it fit into the comprehensive plan? That's when that park comes into play, am I right? Sure.
Yes, so,
And other things that they might wanna.
And the other thing that when I was reading through there, so the percentage, so the amount of money that they would pay is a percentage of the market value. So is that the market value of the bare piece of property or the developed piece of property?
and that's where things in the past have gotten very wonky and people have just said, do your own part and make it HOA maintained. We do have confirmation from several of the subdivisions that they would dedicate their parks to us if we wanted to connect them all into a master parks plan. But that is at a point, to get to that point, we need to make sure that we have the availability of staff and money and resources to maintain all of them. Any new projects, like we were, deeded over a large portion of land between Stonebridge and Old Town on the east side of 35. There's a water feature, and there's a great start to a trail in the floodplain. If we wanna improve that, an ordinance for Parks and Rec is gonna start to build up that fund to do these larger projects. It also allows us the ability to go out for grants. Texas Parks and Wildlife has great grant programs to do parks, trails, hike bike stuff, pedestrian, all of that, stuff, but we don't have the land to show the need for that kind of project. So, our attorney is working with us to make an ordinance that is tightening that up a little bit, because there are very specific things we can and cannot require. So I don't have a copy of it. It will be as required by state law in our favor for Parks and Rec. Again, the land itself to be dedicated to the city and equipment or some kind of improvements to be made on that park before mitigation as well.
I think some of those, grants on Parks and Wildlife are available to HOAs as well,
I'm not sure.
pretty sure. But they're, I'm pretty sure.
And that would be
They just have to
something,
look at them, but they are, in Parks and Wildlife.
and that would be something we can add as well. If we do a full Parks and Rec master plan and we make it this big thing and we wanna make it a community-led, community-based project where we start bringing in these HOA lots and these, like I know Home Place has all of the drainage ways that in theory could be used for something for the community and for others, especially given the way that our floodplain comes to 35. It's definitely something we wanna start looking at, but part of that is one, establishing infrastructure to, one, the park itself, getting to the park from existing facilities, the school and the park parks, city hall, whatever the case may be. But also having a set requirement that there's the land specifically. Everybody wants to say that they can't dedicate the land, it's too high, all of that stuff. But the amenities themselves, because I think there are a lot of developers that would be open to amenity centers if the city was willing to take it over. And that just hasn't been the case historically, so it's been a neglected side of development for a very long time.
That could be an undertaking, that the economic development could undertake, since they're gonna start doing, try to do some 4B projects with their money, not 4B money, the 4B money is designated for roads. But the economic could undertake that, if they chose to, if they would see fit to use that as a way to develop, to bring people and businesses in, sure.
And if we have the base level for getting some of these projects up and going and the funding to get it and all of that stuff, it makes it easier for the EDC to say, hey, you know what, let's get on board and let's make this something bigger. There is a need for sporting facilities, surprisingly, not soccer, because Georgetown has it covered, but large enough baseball to hold tournaments, large enough swimming facilities to hold the aquatic, the swimming tournaments, essentially. Georgetown, they are over capacity every single time that they host a swim meet. Volleyball courts are a big one that I guess we're missing in Central Texas, like full, big enough with enough courts to support a full tournament. There's a lot of those out there, and then what that leads to is tourism. And then eventually, as we get hotels and motels in, we can initiate a hotel motel tax, which then they kind of feed each other and creates a source of very strong revenue that we can use for more projects to bring more stuff in. So this is kind of that first base step in an attempt to kind of get the ball rolling on some of these things. We do have hotel motels looking, so we're hopefully in line with getting both of these situated at the same time.
Are you saying the city attorney is drafting, process of drafting those ordinance?
We're working on it, so I started it and he has to review it to make sure that what we're asking for can be asked for, but until it's solid enough and approved by the attorney, none of us felt comfortable making it public.
So what is your suggestion in that last section that we could do?
So the only thing is recommending that we change it. If you guys say you don't wanna do it, we'll scrap it, I'll tell our attorney to not do it. If you guys are in, given the noticing requirements and the fact that I wanted to get your feedback, we will not make the council agenda this month. So we will have a fully clean ordinance ready for you guys to review one last time at the October meeting. So it'll be, we will have a workshop on it so that we can discuss it, but you will see word for word what these changes are going to be. They'll be highlighted, they'll be called out. In order to get something codified and approved by council, it has to be, basically, you have to take out the existing verbiage, put it in as red text, and send it to the codifiers after council has approved it. So that's what you guys will get next month, which gives us time to kind of, again, adjust if there's any issues that we see. There was just no way to get that done this month to council cleanly in a way that any of us felt comfortable with, so.
So we're looking for a motion
Just
to put all five in the five section?
to change.
Well, so there's only one more thing that I wanna touch base with you guys on, again, it's one of those pick-up things. Currently, we only require, our sidewalk requirement is very minimal, especially on major roadways. So part of this update, if we can change that, from 8 feet in width along major roadways to 10, which is the national recommendation for a shared use path. So you can get your bikers, you can get your walkers. if there's not an ordinance against it, you can get your golf carters, things of that nature on a 10-foot sidewalk along major roads. So this change just brings us up to national standards essentially along thoroughfares. It's something that we can address in the DAX, but there is specific text language for it, so the text has to change with everything else.
That's national, not state.
Yes, that is the, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm not a transportation guru, I know people that are, but it's the American,
Handicap.
no, it's actually the, I put the acronym, but I cannot remember what the acronym stands for, but it's
So
a
the
national
standard-
transportation,
So the standard now for sidewalk is 10 foot?
a shared use path. So along your major roads,
It is, goodness gracious.
along major roads,
I know it's good traction.
Burn them tires.
you want your shared use paths because the intent is that when you start talking about mobility for everybody, there are people, and it's not as common here because one, we don't have sidewalks, but two, well, we mostly don't have sidewalks.
Right.
People-
No, I get it. Yeah,
People
just-
love using
just
sidewalks,
agree.
but in order to get multimodal, transportation on these sidewalks, they have to be big enough. That's just the nature of the
We
game.
got a guy that makes a trip about once a week, goes right down Access Road or wherever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, you don't see the
Thank
kids
you.
walking down 487
Oh, I
to
do.
go to school in the morning?
So it's the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. It definitely is not to the state of Texas, but you'll see, Round Rock made that change about 5 years ago. It's standard on all of their roadway projects, their major thoroughfares to have a 10-foot sidewalk.
That's a lot of concrete.
Well, that would have to be a developer's.
It's not the sidewalk, it's just the allocation distance, right?
Well, so there's multiple ways that you can do it. The shared use path is the dedication of the land.
Right.
So some
Okay,
people
that makes
do an 8-foot bike lane with a 2-inch landscape buffer, or a 2-foot landscape buffer, or, there's a lot,
So it's not just a concrete.
no, it does not have to.
That's fine,
But it's-
that makes sense. I mean,
It's the allocation of 10 feet, so that you can get your separation between your pedestrian traffic and your
Okay.
major.
A little landscape.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then, typically on the roadway projects, it's included in the project. This also means we can require developers to do the same thing. We can set standards in our DAX that say what we would be willing to accept. So 10 feet of concrete, 8 feet of concrete, 2 feet of landscape, whatever the case may be. That's something we can dictate in our DAX, which will be updated and adopted as such. So
I like that. 2 foot,
it's,
8 foot, maybe a little out.
and TxDOT, especially Austin and moving more north, is getting very into pedestrian safety, multimodal transportation. A lot of their bond that came out, as well as everything else, is very much geared towards pedestrians, and not so much roads, which is kind of a shift from how historically
No
it's
scooters,
been.
no bicycles on the sidewalk.
Well, on a shared use path, they're allowed to be,
Yeah,
and
why
that's
they
for the
call it shared
distance.
use.
So now we got the, never mind. The group from Sun City, they'll be off the highway anyway. That's the main thing, they come on the side, if
That's
they'll get
up to
on the
us, right?
sidewalk, if they don't have to stop the stop sign on the sidewalk, they might get on the sidewalk. But they don't stop the stop signs either.
Right.
Well, less people get hurt with golf carts than they do cars.
So.
And then they just, then they flash strike you, I'm sorry.
Our residential standard will still be the 48 inches. That's pretty standard, it's the way it is. We can push that out a little bit, but then maintenance of that sidewalk after it's been dedicated to the city gets a little wonky and a little
I
expensive.
still am up in the air because every morning, everybody's walking in the street in the home place instead on the sidewalk. So while I see the need for sidewalks, I like sidewalks and the thought of sidewalks being used is all the greatest thing in the world, but every day when I watch everybody in my neighborhood walk in the middle of the street, sidewalks are useless.
Well, but if you think about Sonterra, right? There's no space to walk, so by
No.
default, we need to actually move in that direction, we provide some capacity for, there's a lot of people that are a
If
bit
it's
more
there,
I
healthy.
get
people are
it,
more willing.
I live in Sun
Right,
Terra,
but at the end of the day, it's a
and my
responsibility to
kids
provide
just played
safety.
in the street over there because the.
Understood, that's a human behavior, right? But again, we're trying to provide that platform.
We gotta
then.
provide it anyway,
Yeah.
and I give them the
Oh, I'm good
opportunity
with
for a
the
good
sidewalk.
choice.
I'm good with it
And-
being there,
For our
it's just,
kids.
We're at a very advantageous point in our growth where we're not gonna be all the other cities around us who are trying to catch up with the need for shared use paths and paying out of pocket for the connections.
that makes the most sense at this point. Get
They're-
it going,
Right.
because we really don't have any of that here.
Okay, so then I think it's a good idea. Let's put it in.
Okay, so we'll just change it from
Well,
8
yeah.
to 10, then the ordinance will reflect that.
May as well,
I
get
like
ahead of it and be in compliance with the.
Yeah. And that puts it in, I like that. So that's all of,
Yes, sir, that's all the big stuff, that's not legislative. So if that's the route we wanna go, it would be a motion to approve with modifications discussed.
as presented tonight. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion. Anybody wanna make it?
Motion.
I'll second.
And moved and seconded that, we, accept the modifications that we, were recommended tonight and have it presented to the council next week. Is that right?
No, sir, we
Or
will
two?
button everything up, bring it back to P and Z, as it will be adopted by
Okay, I got
council,
you, I got
and
you, I got
then
you.
council will see it
Okay.
at the end of October.
Did, okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? There being none, we proceed to vote. All those in favor of those changes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and we will, we do recommend those changes to council. There being no further business before the council, then we.
One second.
Oh, yes, that's right. I do not. Is there, okay, now, 5-2, we have, discussion and consideration and possible action regarding minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on August 8th, 2023. Any discussion on the minutes? We have a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll accept minutes.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, we accept the minutes of the previous meeting on August 8th, 2023. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and we will accept the minutes. There being no further business on the agenda, we shall adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, guys.
Done. Yeah, we'll make it final. That's what the parliamentary procedure says.
You doing all right?
Good stuff tonight.
Well, I think it's, we made a lot of progress.
Changes need to happen, then.
Yeah, well, I think we have.
That's cool, that's the fun part.
You did come back.
So it's
Like, council specifically asked for it to be.
Working in a lot of changes.
Good night, Sally.
I know, I see,
All right.
city council, but the money is back.
Tell your dad I said hi.
I will. Well, I see the girl.
She does.
It's good to see you, Tom.
And you like that? Goatee. This is actually how I met Ashley, was like this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I met her when I